There's a peculiar obsession that's gripping our society, particularly the less affluent. An obsession with luxury brands. You see individuals, many of whom can barely afford to meet their basic needs, going into massive debt to buy luxury items like Gucci or Versace or Louis Vuitton. Now, why is this happening? What's the driving force behind this trend? On the face of it, it appears to be a craving for luxury, a desire to live a lifestyle that's synonymous with affluence and glamour. But beneath this seemingly frivolous obsession, there's a profound psychological phenomenon at play, a desperate attempt to fill the void of insecurities and seeking validation in a materialistic world. From a tender age, we're all too often conditioned to believe that our worth is intrinsically linked to what we own, what we wear, and how we're perceived by others. Expensive brands have cleverly positioned themselves as status symbols, promising not just an elevated style, but also respect, admiration, and a sense of belonging. This is particularly appealing to those who lack genuine sources of fulfillment in their lives. The allure of instant gratification offered by these brands is hard to resist. Wearing a Gucci or a Versace becomes a shortcut to feeling valued, a way to convince oneself and others that one's life holds a certain level of importance. But here's where the danger lies. Luxury brands thrive on creating artificial desires that lead to nothing more than a temporary and deceptive sense of satisfaction. They capitalize on our insecurities, convincing us that we're not good enough unless we adorn ourselves with their labels. And the irony is that those who can least afford it often end up spending the most. A month's paycheck vanishes into a single pair of shoes, a small price to pay for the illusion of status. At the end of the day, the bills remain unpaid, the debts pile up, and the stress of financial instability grows heavier. Yet the cycle continues because vanity has a way of trapping us into a gilded cage of our own making. The problem is not with the brands per se, but with the meaning we ascribe to them. We turn these inanimate objects into gods, placing them on pedestals, and making our decisions based on the shifting sands of fashion and fleeting trends. Real wealth, true affluence, is not about what you wear or the brand names you flaunt. It's about having control over your time, your money, and your future. It's about the freedom to make choices that align with your values and priorities, without being swayed by the deceptive winds of materialism. Yet we find ourselves willingly surrendering this freedom at the altar of vanity. And why is that? Why do we do this to ourselves? Because luxury brands have mastered the art of selling identity, making us believe that without the logo, we are less than. That without the label, we are invisible. This is the insidious nature of their appeal. They feed our insecurities, making us believe that our worth is intrinsically linked to these external symbols. The truth, however, is far from this manufactured illusion. Our value as human beings is not determined by the clothes we wear or the brands we own. It's determined by the content of our character, the depth of our soul, and the richness of our experiences. These are the things that truly matter, not the labels on our clothes or the logos we display. So how do we break free from this cycle? How do we escape the gravitational pull of vanity? It starts with a conscious decision, a decision to reject the false promises of material possessions and to seek fulfillment in more meaningful pursuits. It's about finding sources of validation that are not tied to our appearance or our consumption habits. It's about cultivating self-respect and self-worth that are not dependent on external factors. In a world that often feels devoid of meaning and purpose, it's easy to be swept away by the currents of materialism. But it's in our hands to chart our own course, to define our own identities and values, and to resist the allure of the gilded cage. Let's not be prisoners of vanity, but rather architects of our own destiny. If you resonate with these thoughts, if you're ready to break free from the shackles of vanity and embrace a life of true freedom and authenticity, then let your voice be heard. Comment below, share this message with those who need to hear it, and above all, subscribe to our channel, the place where ideas come to ignite the minds of a new generation of thinkers.